She'll never say it out loud, but here's the brutal reason she slept with him. Not you. You thought it was about looks, money, or being the nice guy. The real reason? He triggered a forbidden, mysterious switch, an instinctive impulse that mixes tension, unpredictability, and calm leadership. Something most men never even notice, but she can't resist. All your life, you've been sold a lie about what makes a woman choose a man in bed. Movies, friends, even her own words will tell you it's about romance or attraction. But the truth is, women only give themselves to the man who awakens something primal, something that bypasses logic, stirs her imagination, and makes her obsessed, without her ever admitting why. If you don't know this, you'll always end up as the friend, the backup plan, or the guy she forgets by morning. Because when it comes to sex, women don't choose with reason, they choose with instinct. If you never trigger this forbidden impulse, she'll never see you the same way again. So, what is this trigger? Why do ordinary men become unforgettable lovers, while good guys get left behind? Stay with me, because in the next minute, I'm going to break down the uncomfortable truth that unlocks her desire, and I'll show you exactly how to flip that switch, so you never get rejected, replaced, or overlooked again. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a like, because the second you learn this, you'll have the power to make her choose you, and only you. Ever since you were little, you've heard that women choose the right man, the romantic one, the provider, the guy who does everything for her, who never says no, who puts her needs above his own. Movies, TV shows, friends, and even your own family have reinforced this script. The world has sold the idea that being perfect is enough to be chosen. But how many times has reality shown you otherwise? Perhaps you found yourself wondering, why is the good guy almost never the one chosen in the end? Movies, TV shows, friends, they all repeat the same logical seduction script. Compliments, gifts, boundless dedication, loving messages, and the expectation that one day everything will be reciprocated. You've learned that winning someone over is a matter of summation. The more attentive you are, the more likely the happy ending. But what no one tells you is that this script rarely works. The guy who follows it to the letter usually only hears, "You're amazing," but deep down, you sense there's something invisible outside this rational equation. But how many times have you seen the perfect guy replaced by the unlikely one, the bad boy, the mysterious one, the guy who doesn't seem to care or isn't interested in pleasing? No matter how closely you follow the perfection manual, there's always someone who breaks the mold and still wins her over. This confuses, frustrates, and makes you question if you're missing something. The truth is, what attracts her isn't what's obvious, but what's invisible to most. What no one tells you is simple and brutal. Sex isn't rational, it's instinctive, it's unconscious. You can list qualities, strategize, plan every detail, but desire arises from a place that ignores logic and arguments. True attraction happens before she can explain, much less control. It's as if there's an ancestral code that decides for her, far beyond conscious effort. While you try to convince her, she just feels it. Now pause and think, what if you've already been overlooked for this very hidden factor, without even realizing it? Perhaps you've felt that silent frustration of giving yourself, dedicating yourself, and still being ignored when you most wanted to be seen. It wasn't a lack of merit or good intentions. It was something invisible, something beyond your logical comprehension. The truth is, this happens to almost every honest man, at least once. Is it time to see what truly drives her desire? There's an invisible switch in female desire that only some men, sometimes without knowing how to explain it, can trigger. It's not in the right words, the perfect look, or the tireless displays of affection. It's something older than any theory of seduction, a subtle, almost instinctive signal that touches her subconscious. Most go through life without realizing this trigger exists. But those who do become the exception, the kind of man she never forgets no matter how hard she tries. It's not beauty, it's not status, it's not kindness. No matter what they say, none of these are the real triggers. What truly moves her is a rare blend: tension in the air, unpredictability in your gestures, and a calm leadership that conveys security without suffocating. This balance makes her feel like she's never in complete control, but also never in danger. It's a presence that doesn't beg for attention, but effortlessly dominates the space. Only those who experience this energy understand the silent power it wields. Think of the man who knows how to disappear for a while, who doesn't feel the need to explain himself or reveal everything he feels. He's not always available, doesn't respond immediately, and doesn't chase her at any cost. Instead of desperately trying to please, he maintains his own pace and priorities. This creates a natural mystery, leaving her curious, slightly restless, and, without understanding why, increasingly interested. This behavior, when authentic, effortlessly activates her desire. This man activates an ancient side of female desire. She feels danger, excitement, challenge, all mixed together in an impulse she doesn't fully understand. It's not about threatening, but about provoking a healthy tension, that butterflies in the stomach feeling of not knowing exactly what to expect. He brings to light an ancient mind game where she must struggle to decipher intentions and gain attention. This mystery fuels desire, making everything more intense and alive. Deep down, she feels she's found someone unlike anyone else. But this game is a fine line, dangerous for those who don't understand their own limits. If you overdo it, it quickly turns into arrogance or even contempt, and she walks away feeling devalued. On the other hand, if this element of mystery and challenge is missing, everything becomes predictable and tedious, losing the power of desire. The secret lies in knowing how to balance presence and absence, creating a rhythm that keeps the tension alive. Few men master this art without falling into extremes. The nice guy grows up believing that love is earned through merit, patience, and predictability. He thinks that simply being trustworthy, available, and doing everything right is enough to win her heart. But this logic turns the relationship into a routine, stifling the mystery that fuels desire. By relying solely on security, he forgets that instinct seeks challenge and surprise. Without realizing it, he ends up killing the attraction and becoming invisible to her. The more predictable and available you become, the less she desires you. It's hard to accept, but the lack of mystery slowly kills the excitement, turning interest into a lukewarm friendship. When she knows exactly what to expect, her heart stops racing, and desire disappears almost without warning. This doesn't mean being cold or distant, but rather preserving a certain enigma of your own. Ultimately, too much predictability is the fastest way to fall into the just friends zone. She tests, provokes, challenges, and she doesn't do it out of malice, but out of an unconscious need to seek that element she herself can't explain. These tests are invitations for you to show your strength, your authenticity, and your unpredictability. She needs to feel there's something about you she can't completely control. When a man understands this, he stops taking each test as a personal attack and starts seeing them as opportunities to demonstrate true value. The truth is, desire arises from the tension between security and challenge. How many times have you seen or experienced the story of the friend who did everything right, always there, always helpful, but ended up seen only as a friend or even a brother? He listens to her confidences, helps her through her worst days, hopes that one day she'll see his value, but no matter how hard he tries, he never awakens true desire, only gratitude and comfort. This isn't unfair. It's simply the consequence of ignoring the instinctive side that truly moves her heart. Merit doesn't guarantee desire, only respect. But if desire truly isn't a rational choice, why does the so-called wrong guy end up being the one? No matter how hard you try to understand, the answer almost always eludes logic and traditional advice. It's as if there's a hidden force that turns the tables when least expected. Perhaps it's precisely this unpredictable element that triggers her instincts. So, what truly transforms the unlikely into the irresistible? Here's the secret no one told you. There's no point in acting mysterious if you're not authentic. What truly drives female desire is a quiet confidence without arrogance, and a subtle tension, without any hint of disrespect. You don't need to play games to win. You need to truly live, with clear principles and boundaries. It's the combination of strong presence and vulnerable honesty that creates this irresistible aura. Only then can you activate desire without falling into the trap of toxicity. How do you create an atmosphere of true unpredictability? The key is to surprise with authenticity. Do the unexpected without forcing it, simply by being true to your own rhythm and values. Leading her desire isn't about controlling, it's about inspiring. It means making it clear you're in charge of your life, while also knowing how to listen, disagree, and speak up when necessary. Small gestures, firm decisions, and even the ability to disappear when you feel the need are details that create this atmosphere. The secret is to be neither predictable nor reactive, but always intentional. For example, creating small reality checks is one of the most authentic ways to activate desire. Speak truths, even if uncomfortable. Express your opinions, disagree when necessary. It's not about confrontation out of ego, but about demonstrating that you have a center, a rhythm of your own. This approach makes her realize you're not there just to please or fit into expectations. That's where respect is born, and, along with it, renewed and genuine interest. Many men confuse leadership with domination, mystery with coldness, and then lose respect, not just desire. Being a leader isn't about imposing your will, it's about inspiring security. Being mysterious isn't about being distant, it's about being interesting. When posture turns rigid or silence turns icy, she senses something is wrong. Attraction without connection becomes an empty game, and games always have an expiration date. Those who seek power through control ultimately find only loneliness. But a silent dilemma arises. What's the fine line between being irresistible and becoming just another egotist in the game of seduction? How far does authentic self-confidence go, and when does it become a cover for insecurity? Many men get lost trying to maintain their mystery and end up disconnected, lacking empathy or purpose. Is there a balance point where you're desired without needing to manipulate or hurt? Keep that question in mind, because the secret will only be revealed in the final chapter. There are subtle signs that you've triggered her instinct, and she may not even realize it. She starts dressing up more to meet you, challenges you in small arguments, teases you with jokes, and even shows jealousy in a veiled way without openly admitting it. The mood changes, an energy emerges in the air, a different look in her eyes, a new attention to detail. These gestures are like silent codes of desire that she herself doesn't understand. Pay attention, because that's the sign you're no longer just another person. She starts wanting to know where you are, who you're with, what you're doing, but she's unlikely to admit she feels this need for control. Her speech remains independent, but her gestures betray an interest that transcends reason. You notice indirect questions, attentive glances, and even a certain discomfort when she senses she's losing access to your universe. This isn't about possession, but about the unconscious desire to connect with someone who isn't easily deciphered. This mystery provokes and attracts at the same time. A real story. A friend spent years being predictable, always available, until he realized he was stuck in the nice guy cycle. One day he changed a single attitude. He stopped responding immediately, focused more on his own projects, and maintained his pace without giving explanations. The result? Her behavior flipped. More interest, more initiative, even jealousy where before there had been indifference. It wasn't manipulation, it was a simple adjustment in attitude. Small, authentic changes can transform everything. Now stop and think. Have you noticed when a woman suddenly changes? Becomes colder, more distant, or on the contrary, starts teasing you, seeking your attention, showing more desire. This usually doesn't happen by chance. It's often because you've hit or missed that silent trigger that drives her instincts. It may seem subtle, but the signs are always there for those who learn to see them. Comment here if you've experienced this kind of turnaround and what you did to change the game in your favor. But all this progress can be destroyed if you don't know how to respond to her tests. It's not enough to activate desire. You need to sustain the energy, even in the face of provocations and challenges. Many men, at the first sign of doubt or provocation, revert to anxious or needy behavior, and everything falls apart. It's at this moment that the secure man separates from the one who only feigned control. If you don't understand this dynamic, you can lose everything in a matter of days. The test never stops. She'll check from time to time, whether your confidence is real or just a facade. This isn't malice, it's instinct. She wants to feel she's with someone solid, who won't crumble under pressure or doubt. Every provocation, every threat to leave, every sudden silence are invitations for you to show poise. But if you waver, start begging, or lose your bearings, she senses it instantly. The real challenge is staying calm even in the eye of the storm. When she provokes or threatens to leave, most men react automatically. Fear, anxiety, desperation. It's common to see guys try to argue, promise changes, or even humiliate themselves just to avoid losing her. This reaction betrays insecurity and shows that you don't trust your own worth. Deep down, the panic of rejection is what really drives her away, not the test itself. The key is to understand that, in these moments, your behavior defines everything, not her words. The man who remains calm under pressure, who doesn't rush in desperately or lose control, automatically rises in her mind's ranking. He exudes a rare, hard-to-find confidence and shows he's not afraid to lose someone to avoid losing himself. This attitude inspires respect and desire because it reveals emotional maturity. When she realizes you don't panic, she feels she's finally found someone worthy. Self-control is the real differentiator. Consider two scenarios. On one hand, the guy who begs her to stay, who tries to convince her, who despairs at the possibility of losing her. On the other, the man who listens, takes a deep breath, smiles, and simply lets her decide, without drama, without attachment. The first conveys dependence and insecurity, the second freedom and respect. Paradoxically, it's this authentic detachment that makes her rethink. No one desires someone who's begging. Desire arises where there's room for choice. But every coin has two sides. And here, an important question arises. What is the risk of losing yourself in your own game? At what point does self-control turn into coldness or empty pride? If you overdo it, you can end up so distant that you break any chance of real connection. The line between self-respect and isolation is thinner than it seems. Be careful. Many men end up alone without realizing why. Insecure men often overdo it trying to prove their strength. They become cold, abusive, and distant, believing this will earn them respect. In practice, attraction quickly turns to repulsion. Every connection loses its heat when it turns into a power play or a display of indifference. What begins as mysterious charm ends as emotional isolation. The key isn't to harden, but to find the point where firmness doesn't destroy humanity. The key to everything lies in the balance between firmness and vulnerability. She wants to feel your strength, yes, but she needs to see your humanity to truly trust. It's not about never giving in, but about knowing when to listen, show care, or even admit a mistake. A complete man isn't afraid to show emotions, as long as he isn't held hostage by them. This combination creates lasting attraction. You're strong, but you're also real, palpable, and accessible. For example, the man who knows how to say no when he needs to protect his values, but also knows how to listen and compromise when it makes sense for both. He doesn't compromise out of fear of losing, but because he consciously chooses what's worthwhile. At the same time, he doesn't close himself off to the other person's experience. He listens and can adjust course without losing his center. This inspires genuine respect because she sees she's dealing with someone who has integrity. That's where the connection truly deepens. A practical tip: never feign mystery or play games to manipulate her. She will sense falsehood or hidden agendas. Attempts to hide feelings or create artificial situations end up destroying respect and cooling the relationship. Authenticity is far more powerful than any trick from seduction forums. True magnetism comes from what's real, not what's rehearsed. Ultimately, transparency and truth always win. Now we come to the decisive moment. What's the point of understanding all these principles if you can't translate them into concrete action, avoiding the trap of playing with other people's feelings? The real challenge lies in applying all this ethically, being authentic with her, and most importantly with yourself. The next step is to move beyond theory and take responsibility for your choices. Are you ready to take that leap? That's where the real difference between ordinary men and unforgettable ones begins. The truly chosen one doesn't force, doesn't plead, doesn't compete. He simply is. He doesn't need to prove his worth with every gesture or beg for recognition, because his essence speaks louder than any argument. His presence is felt because it is authentic, free from neediness or the need for approval. This type of man leaves deep impressions because he inspires admiration, desire, and respect without asking for anything in return. He becomes unforgettable because he truly exists. This man has his own life and greater purposes, and he doesn't make female approval the center of his universe. He's willing to lose a relationship to avoid losing himself, and it's precisely this attitude that generates genuine admiration. He invests in his dreams, cultivates friendships, and maintains hobbies and values that don't depend on anyone's gaze. This conveys a quiet confidence that is irresistibly attractive. In the end, he proves that true power lies in not needing to beg for love. The paradox is clear. The less you need her, the more she feels the need to win you over. It's not about feigning disinterest, but about truly building a life that revolves around no one but yourself. This triggers an ancient desire, to be chosen not out of neediness but out of genuine admiration. The more whole and self-sufficient you become, the more magnetic you are in her eyes. Desire arises from space, not dependence. Quick exercise. Stop right now and recall a situation where you were rejected or stuck in the friend zone, simply for being too predictable. What would you do differently today? Knowing what you've learned about instinct, mystery, and desire. Reflect honestly. Was it a lack of tension, attitude, or simply the courage to put yourself first? Share your experience in the comments. Your lessons may help other men see beyond superficial logic. Are you ready to close the loop? Now comes the final secret. The insight that separates ordinary men from the ones who are never forgotten. It's time to understand how to avoid the friend zone and being seen as disposable by the person you desire. What follows isn't a magic formula, but a brutal and liberating truth. Stay with me until the end. This final step will change the way you relate forever. Now it's time to answer the open loop from Chapter 5. How do you activate desire without becoming manipulative or narcissistic? The answer isn't in formulas or games, but in integrating desire with integrity. Being irresistible doesn't mean manipulating. It means being whole, truthful, and having clear boundaries. The secret is to combine mystery with respect, presence with freedom. Only then can you trigger desire without sacrificing the most important value: dignity. The ultimate secret can be summed up in 2 words: presence and integrity. Be mysterious because your life is truly rich and purposeful, not because you're pretending. Be firm because you have principles and know what you want, not because you need to control others. Allow yourself to be unpredictable because you're always evolving, not because you want to play games. It's this authenticity that inspires desire and respect at the same time. A true trigger is never created by artificial tension or cheap manipulation. It stems from the calm authority of someone who doesn't beg for attention, doesn't live by the gaze of others, and doesn't decide based on the fear of rejection. This energy conveys a solid inner value that makes any woman see you as the exception, not the rule. Respect only exists when you don't depend on it to exist. Ultimately, it's this attitude that makes you truly irresistible. When you master this code, something rare happens. You not only become the man she desires, but also the one she truly respects. It's the union of physical desire with emotional admiration, a place reserved for the few. It's not about being perfect or infallible, but about being authentic, whole, and secure in who you are. This balance transforms relationships and completely changes how you're seen and remembered. True power lies in being unique, irreplaceable. If this video changed your perspective, share it with someone who needs this truth, and subscribe so you don't miss future content. Comment below, what was the trigger that made you lose or gain someone without understanding why? Your experience can inspire other men to see beyond the surface. Don't forget to activate the bell to receive each new insight. Together, we'll build a space for evolution and true respect. While you insist on seeking logic, she follows instinct. And that's where many men lose their way in the game of relationships. Stop fighting nature, trying to rationalize what is a primal impulse. Accept that desire arises from what can't be explained, only felt. When you learn to honor this movement, you stop being just another face in the crowd. Become unforgettable, living with truth, presence, and respect for what is essential.